Yada dee, yada do.
Yada dum da dum dum.
Dum da dum dum dum.
You guys aren't ready for what's gonna happen next.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Dragon Shield. Use code PLAYTOWIN5 at the affiliate link down below for 5% off to help support the show.
Welcome to the Play to Win podcast. When we talk about winning in cEDH, I'm Cam.
And I'm Dylan. This week we are talking about our favorite decks, the best decks that we played over the course of 2025.
I had a hair in my mouth.
You didn't have to tell them that. These are decks that we played this year, more than a few games. There's just some that we're not going to talk about because we played them for the set game, maybe one extra time, and then not too much more than that. So we're going to be talking about all the decks, best ones we like the most. You have a list?
Yeah, I have a list of all of the decks that we built for ourselves to play. This is not gonna, like you said, include like patron submitted lists that we played on the channel or decks that we made specifically for set review episodes. So we're not gonna be ranking Gwenum or Tanuk, unfortunately, today. Tanuk hasn't seen any cEDH play since I stopped playing it. So
all of those decks are worse than all these decks.
Yeah, exactly. So instead, we're only gonna talk about decks that we are extremely passionate about because we played them a lot. We put real cards sleeved up in our backpacks and deck boxes with them, and that can't be said for a lot of other decks that we played this year.
What's the first one on the list? You want to talk about one of yours or one of mine?
Yours, because I think you put more decks together this year and stuck with them than I did.
Can we do a quick count?
Yeah, so you have 6 we're going to talk about,
6.
and I have 4.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I feel like I couldn't really land on a deck this year. I wasn't
Yeah.
finding a ton of success. I don't know why. I feel like I was bouncing around, so that makes sense.
I'm not going to lie. I'm cheating on one of yours.
Okay.
Frogman asked us to talk about Glarb, and you played Glarb.
I did play Glarb.
But in like December 2024, I'm finding is the last time that your Glarb list was on the channel specifically.
Yeah, we can still talk about Glarb.
Yeah, I would still like to, because this is going to be, I think, a good transition into what we were thinking about at the end of 2024 with like the Dockside ban, the Mana Crypt ban, and what we were thinking about with cEDH going into 2025.
Yeah, do you remember what we said with those cards being banned? Was that really only 1 year ago? It feels like It feels like 2 or 3.
Going through this list made me realize that all of 2025, like everything that happened before June, feels like it was a different me that experienced it because it was so long ago.
I think they say that your skin cells or like all your cells in your body get replaced every 7 years. I was like reset or something. Mine go every like 6 months, I feel.
Every 6 months, you molt and you become a new person?
Well, no, over the course of 6 months.
Oh,
so
you're
like
slowly
1% on one day.
molting.
Yeah, slowly.
I much preferred the slow molt than the immediate molt.
You want the 7-year molt.
I feel like crabs when they molt are like so skittish and afraid you have to go into hiding.
Can you imagine the first time you do that? Whoa, my bones come off! What the fuck? Holy shit!
My whole skin falls off. What the fuck?
It sucks. Holy shit! No one told me this.
God. Like having a kid and having to tell your kid, don't freak out, Timmy. Your bones are gonna fall out and they're gonna be replaced, or your skin's gonna fall off.
Yeah.
And you're gonna just look like a fleshy blob, but it's okay.
For us, it would be our bones from the inside come off, and we wait until they regenerate. So we like are a pile of slop until our bones like recreate themselves. Is that how it would work for humans?
Well, they still have bones.
Do they have bones on the inside?
You haven't eaten a crab in a long time.
I've been vegan for 10 years this Thanksgiving.
Congrats. That's awesome. Wow, that's awesome. 10-year anniversary, dude.
I was like pescatarian or whatever.
A pescatarian?
Whatever that. I was that for like 2 years prior. So realistically, I haven't eaten crab in like 12 years.
When you crack open like a crab leg,
there's nothing in there.
It's just meat in there. They don't shed everything but the meat, though. That can't be right.
They have a thin layer of skin underneath the skeleton, like a spring roll.
Oh, yeah.
Paper stuff. Yeah, that's what they're made of.
If you're a crab, comment in the description. And
What's inside of you?
What's inside of you?
Glarb?
Glarb
doesn't molt.
We're moving from crabs to frogs.
Glarb's bones are on the inside. What did we think at the beginning of the year? We probably thought that the format was going to slow down, and I think it did a little bit.
Because without Dockside Extortionist, it felt like Ristic Study really became like super effective now all of a sudden. And it's not that it wasn't before. When did Midrange Hell start, do you think?
When Docksided Mana Crypt got banned,
we were in Midrange Hell a little bit before that, though, right?
It was already heading that direction.
Nadu was around in Midrange Hell, right? Like we were still in Midrange Hell then,
yeah.
Because we made a playmat for the year 2025
with Nadu on it.
Yeah, that was based around Midrange Hell and extended into 2025.
It must have been before that.
Yeah, so Glarb would have been really good. Like Glarb was like one of these Midrange Hell tier 1.5 shiners at that time that like could do what one of the better decks was doing, but had its own axis of card advantage that it could fight on still.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. In the slower metas, I think Glarb is actually incredible. I view it as as like an actual control deck, the power of Counterbalance is like kind of crazy, especially when you get Sensei's Divining Top going, when you have Glarb going, you can change the top of your library.
And like Seedborn Muse, so that every turn they don't know what to expect.
Yeah, you can get to a situation where like if you can control the board adequately up until you establish this like soft lock, it can be that. It can sort of like soft lock out the table from casting more spells. I do think Glarb is quite powerful in that way. Recently, the past 6 months, I have felt that all of my decks need to be faster, I feel like. If I'm not active on turn 1 or 2, like active in the game, I'm losing the game. So like wasting mana, tap out for Glarb early is really bad. And I'm not saying that you should always do that. In fact, oftentimes maybe you should wait, but Glarb is one of those commanders that the longer it's in play, the more value it gets. So you're sort of incentivized to play it early, and tapping out on turn 2 is, I feel, really risky. Maybe it's just my pods because they play with Etali a lot or whatever, but like a plan where the strategy is tapping out on turn 2, that doesn't work for me. So maybe Glarb pilots know that like you're not supposed to tap out on turn 2 against Etali, but then I feel like, I don't know what you want to be doing with the deck.
A lot of your card advantage is based off of the top of your library and like being able to manipulate with like a tutor so that way you can always have Mindbreak traps. So like there is kind of a world where maybe you want to have up like Mystical Tutor so that you can do Deadly Rollick off the top of your library, but you also like just some other cards you get to cast from the top of your library. Beseech the Mirror, Calling Ritual.
So good.
Henny's Expertise is a Wrath that doesn't deal with Glarb in particular, which is kind of funny. Wandering Archaic, Seedborn Muse. It's definitely seen a lot less play in tournaments recently, but there is like lists that get top 16 records that still go to tournaments and stuff.
Being able to use stuff like Force Direction and Misdirection and
Force Direction.
What did I say? Force of Will and Misdirection?
Okay, that makes way more sense.
That's what I meant.
Oh, Commandeer.
Commandeer is another one.
Can you still cast those spells without paying their mana cost? You can still Commandeer from the top of your library by exiling 2 cards from your hand.
Yes.
See, that feels really cracked. That feels great.
I think that's the best part of what Glarb does is it offers you like the extra reach for free counter magic and stuff. Realistically, the triple pip is what I think holds me back too. Other 3-mana commanders like Timna and Sisay, 1 of the mana or 2 of the mana is generic, so that can make it a little bit easier. You can use Soul Ring mana on that and leave your blue mana up to cast a Mystical Tutor or a counterspell or something like that. So the triple pip is a little bit tricky for me. I do still love Glarb. I think it's better without Doomsday. I'll say that. I was playing Doomsday. There's no reason to be that risky.
Yeah,
with
it seems like the
that.
lists are cutting it. Yeah.
You don't need it. I think by the time that you've established control, you can win in a different way that doesn't need to be so one card succinct.
By the way, I just want to add Valley Flood Caller to our list of things that are really good with counterbalancing Glarb too.
Yeah.
What would you rate Glarb right now, knowing how far we've come in the format and considering that like we're kind of at this in-between stage where Turbo is starting to take over, but the whole meta isn't turboed?
A 5 is S tier. These are the best decks. A 5 is the best
equals
deck.
S tier.
So Blue Farm is 5. 4, these decks are like tier 2, I would say.
A tier, yeah.
Do we separate 5 and 4?
3 different names for these. So
yeah,
far.
tier 1, tier 2, B. I feel like was like a 5 out of 5 can only really be like one deck, right? And then everything else is like a 4 point something. Or would like a 5 out of 5 be like the 5 main decks, like Blue Farm, Rocksai, Kinnan, Sisay, Rock Thrast? Those are all 5s to me. And then 4s would be like all the decks that are like not quite there, but
what
almost.
If we just did it based on feeling?
Feeling?
Yeah, like what do you feel?
I gotta do a number.
Rated?
I feel numbers.
Okay, that's fair.
So like Etali would be like a
you
3.
can't use decks that we're gonna talk about as examples.
Sorry. And then 3s would be Glarb. Maybe 3's a Glarb.
Maybe like a tier 2 deck that you'll still see in tournaments.
And like you still have to respect it. It can still do powerful things. There's no doubt. But it's not your number one priority at a pod normally. So whereas, I think Glarb's around to 3.
Ooh, okay, so it's really like 5 is tier 1, and then a 4 is tier 1.5, and then a 3 is like tier 2.
Tier 2.
A 2 is like a deck that's fallen off, which is why we're not really playing it anymore, or something we're figuring out. Yeah. A 1 is something that's not cEDH.
Yeah, not cEDH. This would be
Tanuk.
That
would be Tanuk.
Yeah.
That's why we're not talking about Tanuk.
Gwenum. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, Glarb, I would give like a 3.2.
You would give Glarb a 3.2?
Yeah, I would go with 3.2. I think I would have to respect it if it's at the table, but it's not going to be the thing that I'm most scared of. If they get their engines going and rolling, it will start to be a problem, but I think the format is fast enough now where Glarb is going to have a tough time.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's going to make me want to give Glarb a 2.5 then. Okay. Because I think Glarb is kind of getting to the, it's slowly falling out of meta right now. Like in the past month or so, there's only like a small handful of people that are bringing it to tournaments.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you know, we're seeing way more decks that are seeing way more prominence and, you know, starting to rise up a little bit more.
The only reason why I think I give it as high a rating as 3.2 is I do think Glarb does what it does the best. Sultai, I think it's the best Sultai deck. I think you could probably play Thrasios Tevish but I truly like Glarb more. That might be wrong. I might be wrong about that, but I haven't seen enough out of Tevish Thrasios.
Yeah.
So I think Glarb is like maybe the best Sultai deck, definitely the best. Well, Tivit might be a good control deck to comparable
Is
to.
Thrasios Timna even a better control deck than Glarb?
Is Thrasios Timna a control deck?
What else does Thrasios Timna do?
Yeah, I guess maybe Thrasios Timna is
Mid-range
like a control deck.
is control in this format.
Kind of. I think of like Tivit and Glarb as like control. Like what Glarb is trying to do is control the board, I think. So whereas like Thrasios Timna is trying to win. They're like closer to like a tempo deck maybe. Like they're not trying to like lock people out in any way or like wrath the board in any way. They're just trying to like not die until
they
they
just
can
have a lot of interaction to not die.
Yeah.
See, I think of not dying decks as control decks because you can't really like grind the table out with advantage the way that control can in 60 card formats. Like I can't use a 1 land that makes a 1/1 every turn in order to win the game. Like I still have to win. It's a cEDH. I have to win with the combo if I can't overrun the board with Winota style combat.
That's fair. I guess
like
I view stuff like Tivit and Glarb as these like control decks, these separate entities that aren't just trying to stay alive. They're trying to like stop you from doing shit.
Yeah,
like,
I'll agree. They're even more controlling than Thrasios Timna for sure.
Whereas like I view as like in cEDH, those Thrasios decks, those even Timna Crom is like those are mid-range decks. They have the ability to control the table. They can go fast. They can go both ways. They're not like trying to control the table. It's like an option.
I don't really see Timna Thrasios go very fast. Maybe that's why I don't think
I don't
of it
see
that way
realistically.
so
I
much.
haven't really seen the deck in like 2 or 3 months, so I don't know. But okay, yeah, Glarb. Do we talk enough about Glarb?
I think we've talked about enough about Glarb. We gave him a rating, and I had to do math. Well, Cubby had to do math, so he's going to tell you what it is, actually.
Great.
So now let's talk about another one of your decks that you built this year.
One that I actually built this year.
One that you actually built this year. Yeah, it's going to be Rograk Silas.
Rograk Silas. I did have this together for a while, and truthfully, we're probably going to be talking about another deck that I played this year in Green Goblin. I can't help but talk about them both at the same time a little bit because they are...
Well, I need you to talk about only Rograk Silas right now.
Yeah, they're about 80 cards similar. There's like 20 that are different. Rogsai is a deck that I played for a while. I took apart for a little bit. I'm probably going to put back together realistically.
You just updated it 2 hours ago.
I sure did. What's the name of it?
Turbo Time, Max Speed, Max Attack. Has this ever happened to you?
Yeah.
I love this.
I made a few updates to Rogsai. I think the deck is awesome. I've been doing a lot of test hands again with it. I've missed playing it. I missed its explosiveness. Green Goblin, which we're not talking about yet, is really, really good, but it's just a notch slower. And Rogsai, the thing that it does is it allows you to do Grixis best. It allows you to be as fast as possible. Necropotence on turn 1, Ad Nauseam on turn 2. Like it can do these things pretty easily, but you have to mulligan very low, a lot, often. You mulligan to 3 and 4 all the time. And after a while, if you get into a streak of like you lose 6 games in a row after you mulligan to 3 each time, I got tilted. It's tilting. It's like, okay, I need to take a break from this deck for a moment. I need to put together something else and explore other choices, but I miss it. The slowness of Green Goblin is very cool. I'm not talking about yet. We're talking about in a second. The speed of Rogsai is super attractive. And I just put in a couple different cards. I put in Wheel of Misfortune, a card that I notoriously hated.
It's back in.
It's back in because I think 4 wheels is, you need to have 4 in Rogsai. You need to be able to have the option to wheel into a wheel sometimes.
I think that Rogsai being able to turn 1 wheel is like incredibly important.
Yeah.
And for me, a lot of the times I look at that as like your next gas spell. Like if you don't have Necropotence, if you have a wheel instead, you're still set to be able to win. Yeah.
Yeah. And Wheel of Misfortune is kind of interesting because like on turn 1, no one can like out life bid you. Someone's going to want to keep their hands. You know what I mean? So
everyone's going to want to keep their hands.
So like, and they're going to talk about it too. Someone's going to say something where they're going to say, you know, I want to keep my hand. And then I'll say, well, you just press 0, click 0 if you want to keep your hand. And they go, okay, good. And then you're good to go. And then, you know, you can just bet 1 life. Now, it is a tricky card in the late game. Once you have lost some life, then it becomes tough. Once you have 10 life because you just necroed and you're trying to do it then, everyone's at 30 life. They all just agree, wait a minute, let's just all bet 11. He can't bet more than 11. He's not going to wheel.
Yeah, but I'm looking at this now. My new philosophy on this card is that who cares about it in the late game? Because
it's not a late game card.
Every time that you tutor for a wheel in the deck, it's going to be Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
It's going to be Windfall, right?
Exactly,
Like, and if it can't be one of those two, you're probably going to do, are you on Timey-Wimey?
Timey-Wimey, yeah.
Yeah, you just play Timey-Wimey instead, right? So
you're never tutoring for it.
You're only there to up the odds of your turn 1 wheel on the play. That's it.
Necropotence late game is also bad. When I'm at 10 life and I have Ad Nauseam in hand, it sucks then.
Honestly, Ad Nauseam is also bad in the late game. The more opportunity people have to have counterspells for it, it's also harder to resolve.
So some of these cards are bad in the late game. That's the point. They're good in the early game. They're good on turn 1.
Optimizing the amount of times that you can find find good cards for your opening hand is what you want to do in these decks that need to mulligan aggressively for their win.
Yeah.
And like, you really shouldn't mind mulliganing to 3, but I also understand that because I haven't played Rogsai in like 3 years at this point because I had that same tilt factor where I was like, you have a hard time coming back is what I find with it.
Yeah, it can be tricky. And like the variance is there. Sometimes I'll win 6 games in a row and it feels awesome. You know what I mean? But sometimes you lose 6 games in a row and then it becomes a little bit tricky.
You just need to hit the coin flips at the right times.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But honestly, another thing that I've noticed about Rogsai recently is that its conversion rates have been really good. It's like outperforming a lot of other decks. It's like winning a lot. It's converting into top 4s and top 16ing a lot. It's just like consistently good. Whether I think about the deck, the tilt factor or whatever, it's a good deck. It's putting up a lot of results. So I'm going to definitely put it back together.
Right now, it's like the 4th best performing deck in the format.
Yeah.
So I think that's nothing to snuff at. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does what it does the best. It's similar to Glarb, but what it does is better than what Glarb does.
It's the best performing turbo deck.
It's the best performing turbo deck, just fast enough while also being able to have counter spells where you can like have one counter spell. And at the point in the game where you're trying to go for it, the most anyone's going to have is one thing. Yeah. And then once you resolve the Necropotence, then it's fine. You can feed the Heuristic Study a whole bunch more because the next thing that you're casting is a protected defense grid. And then you can just go after that. So I think, sorry, is calling me.
Cubby, bleep out the word.
Hello? Sorry about that.
And then you get to win with Underworld Breach and Thassa's Oracle, the 2 best ways to win in the format. Glarb really only has access to Thassa's Oracle, the 2nd best way to win in the format.
Right, yeah. The efficiency of just spending a red and a generic on Underworld Breach and then having Lion's Eye Diamond be able to make the rest of the mana that I would need. What Rogsai does is like crescendos. Like you make a lot of mana, you use all the mana ad nauseum. You make a lot of mana, you use all the mana to protect the defense grid.
And then
you know what I mean?
Crescendos and then re-crescendos.
Right.
Wow. So super dramatic classical music is what that is. Yeah.
So you get a lot of these like funnel points where like you've gotten everything set up and done. You have landed the defense grid and protected it, but now you only have a red and a colorless. Perfect. You know what I mean? Then you can land the Underworld Breach then and use the Lines of Diamond to get there. So Rogsai is great. I love it. It's one of my favorite decks in the format. It'll probably always be one of my favorite decks in the format. I'm very excited to put it back together for 2026.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. What do you want to rate it then?
It's a 5. To me, it's a 5. Yeah. It's a tier 1 deck. It's one of the best of the best. It's not Blue Farm. Blue Farm gets like a 5 with a shiny star, I guess, but technically maybe this is a 4.9 or something, but it's a 5.
It's a 5. Yeah. It's a 5 for what I'm concerned. It's the best turbo deck. I think it's a 5. Yeah. All right, let's talk about a deck that I played this year then, and it's going to be Thrasios Timna because we already kind of mentioned it a little bit. This is the first year that Tyler and Brandon have been doing Convoke tournaments, right? Or did they start last year?
Due time, man.
See, I
all
know
my cells have been regenerated 6 months ago.
Yeah, I know that I was on Thrasios Timna like after the bans.
Yeah.
Which means that had to have been this year that they started because at their first event that they did, I got top 13 with Thrasios Timna. Nice. And I was like, this deck actually felt pretty good. Yeah. Like it got to do a lot of very strong things, and like Devoted Druid being like one of the new better ways to make infinite mana in the deck. Like having a lot of different combos. Like the evolution of Hazel's Brewmaster felt way better, and I didn't really feel like I was hindered by any of the bans. Like everything kind of felt like it was still humming in this deck.
Why do you think that deck has been less popular? And by really realistic means, it is still a very popular deck. It's just not winning quite as much. What are your thoughts on the deck? Because like, do you think it's still a good deck?
Yeah, like Rogsai's got a couple of wins recently. Thrasios Timna only has top 16s to its name. Yeah. So like it can still do well, but that's because it's like this mid-range Hell deck that can do really well in mid-range Hell. But the farther that we go away from mid-range Hell, I think this is the mid-range deck that is going to be hurt the most because it's the one that I don't think can go as fast as the other ones. Like Kinnan has a lot of speed. Blue Farm has a lot of speed. Like you can do things to turbo those decks up, but all of Thrasios Timna's win conditions are 2-card combos that you have to assemble that also mean you have to get around like Drenith Magistrate in some point of the game too.
What's good about Kinnan and Blue Farm, like you just mentioned right now, is they have the option to win on turn 2. That's a possibility for them. They could win on turn 2. They can go explosive mode, whereas Timna Thrasios, technically, yes, you do have Thassa's Oracle, the mana concentration, which you could like just have and 3 mana on turn 2, but that happens much less likely than Kinnan getting a dump of mana, flipping twice, and finding a Seaborn Muse and winning on the upkeep of the third person's turn or something like that. You know what I mean? Or like Blue Farm just like having an end-step ad nauseum on turn 1. They would normally not go for something like that, but they have ways to just like those turn 2 wins, they can get there sometimes.
It is insanely more realistic for them to have that than for the Thrasios Timna player to be able to have like Mana Vault and a way to get Devoted Druid and a way to get Machine God's Effigy into play at the same time.
So I have felt that Timna Thrasios is just always like a touch too slow. That might be a me thing. I don't know. I just feel like you're not really like live and in the game until like turn 3. Like turn 1 and turn 2 are setup turns, and that's setup turns for everyone. But I don't know. It's the same issue that I had with Yoshimaru Thrasios, where you're like just a touch behind for the first 2 turns, and I don't feel like that's a good spot to be in cEDH.
Especially as we're moving away from mid-range hell and we're going much faster at that point too. It's harder for the decks that need to stay alive for a couple turns before they can go Grand Abolisher into their win line to actually be able to pull off their win then. So because you're just going to lose way sooner.
And there are other decks that do it well. Obviously, there are many decks that do that, just like not die until turn 3, the Sisse, and there's other ones like that. But for me, Timna Thrasios is like the worst one. It's just the worst one of the options. And I guess those options being Timna Crom and Sisse as the other like mid-range main decks, right?
I just think it's easier to pilot than Sisse, so it's going to be more popular than Sisse for that
makes
reason.
sense. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
There's a lot more cards that cross over with a lot more of the meta than Sisse. Like Sisse's kind of got like its own little niche
thing.
Yeah, and if you just like want to play a deck because it's good and like in passing, I think people will gravitate towards Thrasios Timna a little bit more.
Not a bad deck. Still one of the best decks. We didn't mention it in our 5s. I'm not going to give it a 5, but it is like it's just about there.
I'm going to give it like a 4 point. You know what? I thought I was going to give it a 4.9, but I think I want to land on 4.7 because it's still really good right now. But like in a month, I'm going to give it because if you watch this video in a month, you're going to be like, you gave it a 4.7. I'm going to try to make this a little bit more timeless. Yeah. And I'm going to say that it's a 4.5. I
think it's 4.5 too. That's kind of where I feel with this one.
A 4.5 as well, or a 4.52?
Now that you said that, a 4.52.
Great, okay.
Yeah, I think that you're right. Like this is almost a tier 1 deck. It's not quite a tier 2 deck, but it is somewhere in the middle there.
Let's talk about Green Goblin since we already kind of talked about it.
Yeah, Green Goblin. Now
even though we didn't talk about it yet.
Green Goblin's great. I do think it's a very good deck, and I'm excited to see what other pilots will do with the deck. My issue only with the deck is that it is sometimes a little bit slow, and a lot of the hands look like, oh man, if this was a Roxai hand, I could just win on turn 1. And maybe that means that I should be taking out more of the bad cards and putting in more good cards, but there's already 20s that are like Goblin specific cards in the deck. And when I say 20, that's not exactly true. There's 20 cards that are shared between my Roxai list and my Green Goblin list, but realistically, like 5 or 6 of them are just like land and mana switches. In Roxai, I have more fetch lands in, whereas in Green Goblin, I have more 5-color lands.
Yeah, and it looks like it's just like all these other ways to find and cast Lion's Eye Diamond too, or these.
Those are the differences, like Tezzeret and then like Attunement and things that work specifically with Green Goblin.
Where I'm just noticing no Bowmaster in your new Roxai.
No Bowmaster in Roxai.
I know that was one that like you've gone back and forth on before. I think that makes sense.
I don't think it's good. It doesn't serve the plan of like casting Necro on turn 1.
You would argue it doesn't serve the plan of Green Goblin though either. But
Green Goblin's thing is wheels. Wheels are really good with Green Goblin.
Yeah.
So like,
never mind.
I'm actively looking to do wheels shit at times. So I think Bowmaster makes a touch more sense there. You know, I could be wrong. It's a good card, so I feel like the weaker deck needs a strong card like that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So this is coming apart for...
I think I'm doing the swap. Taking Green Goblin apart and I'm putting Roxai together. What Grixis does well is speed, and what Green Goblin does well is it subtracts a little bit speed for a little bit more... what's like being able to win multiple times, or like being able to go over the top.
Resilience. Not explosiveness.
Explosiveness on like turn 4 or something. Like it can like do crazy shit on turn 4 where like you have to have multiple things because I cracked my Lion's Eye Diamond and I discarded 3 tutors and now I can cast them all for 1 or 2 mana or something.
Oh, it's a balloon. That's what it is. It's a balloon. It keeps inflating until you pop it and then it all goes out.
Yeah, it's a balloon deck, sure, yeah. But with Roxai and with Grixis, I think I want the speed.
Yeah, Roxai's fireworks.
Yeah, fireworks. Okay,
fireworks versus a balloon.
Yeah, so Green Goblin, I still think, I don't know if this deck is realistically a real deck even. I haven't seen it. There was a couple tournaments where it topped or something. So I think I'm probably going to give it a little bit worse than Glarb only because it needs more times to prove itself. So I'll give this one like 2.9. No, I like Green Goblin more than that though. I like Green Goblin more than Glarb. So fuck it. I'm going to give it a 3.5.
I think I'm going to give it a 3 because it's inherently like what it does is just like insanely strong. And every time that you have Trinket Mage, I'm so fucking afraid of you. I've never been more afraid of a Trinket Mage ever in my life.
It makes certain cards very, very good.
I think just it being outclassed by something that already exists in the highest echelon of cEDH is just kind of what makes it be not illuminating in the format.
Nice, yeah. I haven't ruled it out as a card in the 99 though. I think if you're in these Grixis Stormy type decks, it is really good with Underworld Breach. It's insanely good with Lion's Eye Diamond, all these cards that you already want to play anyway.
I've seen it in Blue Farm because Norman's a fine Timna attacker, and like in the late game when you can flip it over,
Yeah.
it's basically like your second Underworld Breach.
Yeah,
then.
yeah. So I do think there's some exploration that can be done for it as a card in the 99. I might try it in Rogsai in place of Orcish Bowmaster and have just like a Green Goblin type instead. But yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna stand by 3.5 for Green Goblin.
The next deck that we're going to talk about is Vivi.
Yeah.
This is one of the decks that I played this year. I put it together right after it came out, pretty much. And I only recently took it apart. And I'll tell you what, I'm looking at its tournament standings in the past month. It is not doing very well. Yeah, one top 8 in the past month. And
Interesting,
that is
right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that this deck was going to be a little bit better than it is. Not that like we knew that it wasn't actually Nadu, you know what I mean? But it did Nadu type things, so I was curious to see if it could. Curiosity, nice. Curious to see if it could put up, and it seems like it's like almost hanging. It's showing up. People are trying it.
It can do very scary things.
Yeah, it certainly can. But yeah, I think it's kind of proven to be like not a tier 1 deck. It is kind of, it sits in that tier 2, tier 3 range for sure.
Yeah, I think Ral has kind of taken over its spot in the meta a little bit more. Like it's done way better at tournaments too, and I think it's way more explosive. It requires less specific pieces, so you don't necessarily need to mulligan as heavily in Ral, even though I felt like I've needed to. It reads very scary, and in casual, it plays way scarier than I think it ends up playing in cEDH, because you get a lot of hands that can just like ramp to nowhere if you have nothing to do. It's very interactable, you know, like it
Telegraphed,
everything that you do is very easy to kind of showcase, and it makes you play a lot of interaction, because like at least that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure that like Vivi could stay alive, which was great because that also gave me more Vivi triggers that let me draw more cards. When I had a curiosity effect, it would just get tough to, you know, piece things together. You need, like we're saying, again, very specific cards in order to be able to go off, and like Mental Misstep.
Ral is a pretty good comparison because they're both blue-red decks and they do storm stuff. The main like strength of Ral that it has over Vivi is like you don't know what you're supposed to interact with because none of the spells matter. It's kind of closer to a true storm deck where like there's not a specific point. Like with the curiosity, counter the curiosity. That's it. That's the point. Everyone knows that it's coming. With Ral, yes, like kill the Ral as with kill the Vivi, but there's much less removal than there is counter magic. So if you have just counter spells in your hand, none of the counter spells, you know what I mean? Like you counter spell the one wild exile red card and then you get the other, you know
By
what I mean?
that time, it's their like 5th or 6th instant or sorcery. They're still going to flip Ral soon and get a ton more free shit.
And by the time that they are casting the Underworld Breach, it's for free. And there's like 9 counter spells that you see are available with Ral's flip or whatever. Like your counter spell doesn't work on the thing that you want to counter because by the time they get to that point, the counter spells don't mean anything. And I think it's the same thing as like Etali. It's a similar aspect of Turbo. It's like there's not really a great point to interact until it's too late almost.
That's the thing, yeah. And I think Vivi's lack of being able to win around the one ring protection has also been like really difficult for me in particular. Like I have to find different ways to like then Born Upon the Wind and try to re-win or something. It makes the curiosity thing way more difficult to go off too, because now you're only drawing 2 cards every spell, which is still like insane. Like it still builds your own Song of Creation, but better. But like you can still whiff a little bit more easily off of that. And like I've also had times where like I don't necessarily need a curiosity. I just needed Harmonic Prodigy in play so that I could like double trigger everyone to death. I think it still had a hard time figuring out like what its best win conditions are going to be, because I've had people tell me that Dragon Storm lines are something that are good that you can do. But like I've also not seen that win any tournaments either. So
I think an issue with it is it's kind of a 1-card deck, and a lot of decks are either a 1-card deck or like any cards deck. So like a 1-card deck is something that like you just want to resolve ad nauseum. If you resolve ad nauseum, you're good to go. Whereas this like you just want to resolve curiosity. If you resolve curiosity, you're good to go. Whereas like Ral and Etali and Kinnan and Sisse are like we just want to resolve like a bunch of spells. Like as long as like a bunch of things are resolving, we're good to go. There's not really one specific point. If you interact here, I can go a different way. It's resolving a bunch of spells. And the reason why Rogsai is so good is because you just need ad nauseum and then it gets you everything. Whereas with Vivi, you need the curiosity. You can't be hellbent. You have to do something else. You have to start it. You have to have something and then not whiff on that first one. And like oftentimes you'll be good to go, but like you need your one thing and then something else. And the one thing decks are Rogsai. They don't need anything else because the one thing gets them everything right away.
That's the thing, yeah. And I've had times where like I have to rely on attacking with Vivi so that my curiosity draw can spiral me into something else. A low chance of success with that. I can feel the stress pouring over me with that kind of stuff. I feel like I have had some success with Vivi. It has been, you know, very strong and it feels very good when it can do its thing, but I want something that can like be a little bit faster. And Ral is doing the is it thing way faster, way more resilient, way more safe, and with way more options to be able to go off with.
What do we rate in Vivi?
Honestly, I think Vivi's getting a 3 because I think Vivi's going to slowly fit into tier 2 obscurity. And as recency bias continues to go away and we want to keep trying new commanders, I think Vivi's going to end up just being pushed to the wayside eventually.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to give it a 2.8.
A 2.8?
Yeah, I think it's just under, which is, I know, kind of crazy. And you have beaten me a lot with this deck. I'm not saying that, like, you know, I've lost to this deck for sure. I agree with everything you're saying, that I think over time, it's just people are going to forget about this.
It's just going to get, I think so.
Until we get something else. If we get something else, if we get another curiosity that changes the equation.
All right, we got the last deck of our decks that we're not too excited about playing.
Okay.
And this is Yoshi Thras.
Oh, yeah, we can breeze through this one quickly. Yoshimaru Thrasios is a good deck. I know that it is. I've seen it do well at tournaments and stuff. I haven't been able to figure out how to make it work.
Honestly, when I've played the deck, I have also not been able to figure out how to make it work.
It's doing the Gaia's Cradle thing a turn too slow for me. It's doing the Thrasios Timna thing without quite as much oomph and power.
Or without the card advantage.
And without the card
Timna,
advantage, yeah. So I just think the Yoshimaru thing where it gets the +1/+1 counter, for some reason, people view that as a moment to like, I should play my Orcish Bowmaster right now and kill your Yoshimaru before it's too late, when there's like always more important things to be doing. It draws the attention that Rog Thras would draw, but it doesn't have the speed to back it up that Rog Thras does.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it just relies on the power of Grand Abolisher effects and Voice of Victory
Which is strong.
effects.
Those cards are strong.
It is very strong, but like at the same time, you still need something to be able to do against the decks that are faster than you, because you need a lot more mana to be able to set all this kind of stuff up. And these decks tend to like run a lot of ways to find Gaia's Cradle, and a lot of them are also pretty clunky. So like, even though Gaia's Cradle can like make you the mana back up, it's also like the only thing that we're looking out for against you, because if you don't have Gaia's Cradle, like there's nothing else that we're worried about in Yoshi Thras.
Yeah, it's still a great deck. Like I said, I definitely think that it is. I just personally think that it is, this sounds like very harsh, and I don't mean for it to be if you love this deck, but it feels like it's a worse version of two tier 1 decks. It's a worse version of Rog Thras, and it's a worse version of Timna Thrasios.
Yeah.
It's still a good deck, but I think it does both of those things worse.
I think makes it like to be in a weird spot.
Right. Why would you play it? Would you play one of the decks that it does better than?
Yeah, and it's not like it does. I guess the thought is, oh, I want to do both of those things.
Yeah.
Like I want to be able to do both of those things, and that's why I want this.
The Derevi thing, the Derevi and Emil and Gaia's Cradle, it feels kind of perfect. I have found though that like Derevi in that deck, it's like getting the triple pips is kind of tricky to like then use the mana right away. Like it seems like it's gonna be perfect, but in actuality, it's kind of clunky.
And it doesn't really have anything else to go with in that. I guess it can like go with Cradle, but that's really good actually.
Oh no, yeah, it's great, but it just, all of those cards are like, I guess like, and maybe I'm just biased also because I see them in Sisei, and every time I see them in Sisei, it's because I'm tutoring for them and winning the game.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm like playing with these cards, and like, yes, I know Derevi is broken, but like realistically, I have found that it's kind of clunky. It's like the triple pips, it doesn't untap as much shit as you want to. It's a huge magnet. Everyone tries to kill it right away. Like oftentimes it can go way over the top, but it can be a little clunky, I feel. So
I've been less impressed with this deck than a lot of other decks in the format. I'm gonna give it, man, is it tier 2? I guess it still is tier 2.
It's better than Green Goblin. I gave Green Goblin a 3.5, so I'm still gonna give this a 3.7, even though I've been so harsh on it, because it's still a good deck. It's still a solid tier 2 option. I'm not saying it's not. I don't know. I don't see it.
I'm gonna give it a 3 because it's a tier 2 deck. That's a 3.35 that it gets.
Sure. We're talking about now some decks that we like a little bit more.
Now we're gonna talk about some decks that we like a little bit more, starting with Timna Malcolm, which is weird because this is not a good deck.
You don't think?
By like all standards of tournament cEDH, this is not a deck that comes up. This is not technically meta. There is something else that does what it's doing better, and that is blue farm. Like this is neutered farm is really what I should call it. Like Choir Boy from the Gregorian chant eras. Blue farm, like it doesn't have the explosiveness. It's even slower than Thrasios Timna. So like it's in the same Yoshi Thrasios spot of being like, there's 3 decks that are doing better things with it too, because I think technically Malcolm Grixis with Vial Smasher is probably also a better thing to be doing than
Malcolm Timna.
Than Timna Malcolm.
Yeah.
However,
you've been liking it.
I've been liking it and doing like decently with it. Like I haven't brought it to a tournament. I'm probably not going to bring it to a tournament because I don't feel like it's a tournament deck, and I don't want to spend 2 hours and go into time in every single round.
It really is like, what if you could play blue farm, but it was like you had to wait 2 turns longer to win the game?
At least. And I have to like assemble 2 card combos all the time instead of 1 card combos.
There's no breach. There's no way to just like wrap it all up.
No, but I really like that it's just like kind of inconspicuous. Like you just kind of get to sit there, slowly accrue value. You're never really the most threatening player because you're never going over the top the most, and you're never going the fastest. list. So there's always someone that looks more threatening than you. You just get to take advantage of the windows that come around with, you know, protected Grand Abolisher wins. So it kind of feels like Yoshi Thras in that way, but it's also like Blue Farm in that way too, where you get to rely on these really protected wins. You just don't get to like easily cinch them up because you have Intuition and Underworld Breach. Like I still need Pneumatic Betrayal, but that also has to require that other people have done a lot of different stuff. And I need to have Thassa's Oracle and Demonic Consultation. And this is my second time trying to win the game. Then I probably can't do Thoracle. I have like no other way to do this now.
Your setup kind of has to be just right? Like you have to like make it to turn 3 with the draw engine and a mana engine in play by then.
Which is really both of my commanders.
Really, exactly. If you can play both of your commanders and survive until turn 3, you're in a good spot. But if you die on turn 2 and your deck doesn't have like a ton of ways to stop that from happening, you do play interaction, of course, but like if you die to a good Etali start, that's how this deck is losing, I feel like, right?
That's the thing, yeah. I'm still losing to the turbo decks because there's not really much that I can do against them.
Especially if there's like 2 turbo decks at the table or whatever. But if you can make it, if you can set up, the deck is like, it hums, man. It just like becomes harder and harder to kill. It's probably one of the best Delny decks that we have because both of the commanders work really well with Delny. And then all of a sudden your fair strategy is like, God, what if it was unfair now? What if you were drawing 6 cards and making 6 treasures a turn now? Like it gets out of hand pretty quick, I think.
I think it's the Esper deck that gives you the most options because like you're not pigeonholed into playing these synergy pieces that require your 5 or 6 mana Esper commanders to be out in play.
Marnius, Tivis, like that.
Yeah, so like I guess maybe they're better at leaving up mana in the early game in order to make sure that they can stay alive for the later game then when they do start to hum too. I feel like being able to generate value early with my commanders when every card in my hand is good. Like I'm sure you can leave up open mana with Marnius or with Tivit, but like if the cards in your hand are like something that makes 1/1 tokens or something that like is like a time sieve that isn't doing anything till way later in the game, there's no point in like you know, deploying those things early or like leaving up your open mana when like you get these dead cards in your hand. Like it just makes it a little bit harder to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like Marnius also isn't quite the same control deck that Tivit is. Marnius is looking to tap the fuck out on turn 1, 2, and 3. Like they are really trying to cross their fingers, at least in my experience seeing them against the deck.
That's true. They need token generator, Marnius.
Right, yeah. Whereas Tivit, I often do see Tivit hide behind just like an Esper Sentinel and do nothing else for the first 3 turns of the game or something like that. And then on turn 4, all of a sudden,
there's Tivit. Here we go.
So there's a little bit of a difference there. So I feel like your deck is a lot closer to Marnius, where you're like kind of tapping out on turn 1 and 2.
That makes sense.
Hoping you don't die. And then if you don't die by turn 3, Marnius is like maybe a little bit slower, but like a little bit thicker. And like
they can go over the top way
They can
better.
go over the top. Either engine is a little bit more robust because they have so many weird things that like Marnius draws in extra cards or whatever. But your deck still, like if you have the right start, it's also a very good Smothering Tide deck. You have shit to do all the time because Timna's drawing you all the cards. So
it is nice having both mana and cards in the command zone. That part definitely has felt very nice.
I feel like the mulligans get a little bit easier too because like if you have to go too low, it's like, well, if I can make 3 mana, that should be fine. At a certain point, if I can like cast Timna and Malcolm and then draw the interactions,
that's really all I need.
Right,
I just need to get to 3. You're exactly right.
Yeah, I love this deck. I think it's really good. I like it a lot more than the other decks that we talked about so far. I think I would give it. I understand what you mean though. It's not like a real tier.
It's not like
deck.
A real like meta deck, but again, that's because like Blue Farm is just doing like exactly this, but way better.
I think on power level, if I'm giving this one a true rating, I think it's like a 3.7. I do think it's like a really good deck that's just a little bit slept on. And even though we talked about the other decks, like they're not good because there are decks that do what their thing is just a little bit better.
Yeah,
that's not exactly true for this one. It's very Blue Farm-ish, but like I don't know what it does. I think is still quite good. So I'm gonna give it a higher rating.
It's way closer to Blue Farm than what Glarb is doing. Glarb, I think, is still more controlling than Blue Farm, and Glarb is definitely more controlling than my Timna Malcolm build. Yeah, that's for sure. And I think that I'd still rather be doing something that's closer to Blue Farm than Timna Thrasios or like anything else. Really.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think I agree.
So you give it a 3.7. I think I'm gonna give it 3.2.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
It's still like tier 2, but I think it's still like one of the better things that I could be doing in tier 2. And it's really only together because it's the opposite of my other main deck. Yeah. So like it's really the only reason why I'm playing it. I think it's one of the better options that I could have for that. I love Timna. Timna's just so fucking good. Maybe I'll go 3.5. I'll go 3.5 because I think that Timna's just so fucking good.
Timna's just so good.
Now we have Terra to talk about for
Terra. Yeah. Terra's deck that I've been playing a lot this year.
It came out the same time as VV. I feel like this deck is better than VV, even though I feel like it's not seen play in as many tournaments as VV's seen.
It doesn't see any play in a lot. I haven't seen it show up a lot at all, which is kind of surprising because I thought that the deck feels actually really good. I think a lot of these decks are similar to other decks, obviously, but I think it's very similar to Blue Farm and Rogsai. It's a little bit slower than Rogsai, a little bit faster than Blue farm. It's like kind of somewhere in between those two. It's just a 5-color good stuff deck at this point. There's no food chain. I'm not doing enchantment shit. Like technically I do have Mirror Maid and Steel Enchantment in there, and Necro Dominance is in there too, whatever, you know what I mean? But realistically, like that's part of the backup plan. Those cards I think are just truly good. I think Mirror Maid and Steel Enchantment are just good cards.
I think they help you like lean into the blue farm thing, while Necro Dominance helps you lean into the Rog side thing. Just like having more options to go both ways feels really good in the meta right now.
Yeah, filling up the graveyard with stuff for Underworld Breach does make your Underworld Breach turns a little bit easier, which is nice, but realistically, it's just a 5-color good stuff deck. There's nothing tricky that I'm doing. There is like Mirror Maid stuff that you can do and make infinite Mirror Maids and make infinite mana with the backside. I have found that even at moments where I could go for that, it wasn't right to go for it, and I'm not really sure if that's any good.
It's hard to have an infinite mana outlet if you've got like not much else going on with it.
Yeah, and realistically, I would rather just be like winning the game. It's slower than Rogsai. The turn 2 wins don't come up quite as often. It's like a turn 3, turn 4 deck, but it's like a protected turn 3, turn 4. Stuff like Rogsai and other turbo decks are trying to win on turn 2 with no protection or light protection. I find that Terra often, on the good starts, I can win protected on turn 4 with a silence or
you're like a Yoshimaru Thrasios version of Rogsai. That's so interesting.
And then like your plan of like looking off the top for Ristic Studies and Mystic Remorse and Steel Enchantments and Mirror Maids and these ways to like claw you back into the games that you have to mulligan really low because you don't find the early start, because like we found like in my tournament report for what we did for the cEDH tournament that we just did, I won on turn 2 and turn 3, both in the play. So like it has the ability to do that very fast shit, but it also just has the backup plan of the Steel Enchantment things.
Yeah, the option to go both slow and fast is what makes blue farm so strong, and I think this kind of really helps give Terra the oomph. I'm just surprised that we don't see more 5-color good stuff decks in cEDH in general.
Yeah, it is kind of strange.
It really is. Like, I don't know if like Dockside Extortionist has just made like the best 5-color commanders not be as good anymore. I know we've been getting way less like 5-color support. Golos isn't around anymore, but like Kenrith started to make a comeback, but like also hasn't really been making a comeback either. So like it's really hard to explain why there's no 5-color decks in cEDH right now. I feel like there really should be more. I think that's gonna make me want to give Terra like a higher grade than I think I should. I think if I'm like using our rating system, Terra probably should get a 2 because it's not really showing up. Probably like a 2.5.
Yeah, it's not showing up.
Just because it's not showing up. But when I play against Terra, it's fast and it's strong and it feels like a 4 because of everything that it can do. It's got all of the colors. It's just the best things in cEDH. Like every move that you make is a strong move. It has the same Rogsai thing where I have to make sure that like you can't win quick enough, and if I can make sure you don't get the heuristic study of some kind in play, then I'm in good shape from there. When I'm playing Timna Malcolm against Terra, I feel way scared.
I completely agree, and I think one of the reasons might just be that like I don't think anyone's really playing Terra. Like I don't think that a lot of people are trying it. It's not. I don't know. Maybe that's not true. Maybe it is showing up and just like not making the cut. I didn't actually look. I think maybe that people aren't trying as much, and it kind of feels like it's almost like a boring pick or something. And it's kind of interesting. Like the green cards that I play, it's really just like blue farm with like 8 green cards, and the green cards are like it's all mana. It's only mana. It's Birds of Paradise and Tinderwall, and realistically Tinderwall and Elvish Spirit Guide are like the biggest pulls to the deck. I'm not even joking. Having an extra Rite of Flame is so fucking good, and then also just the power of Culling Ritual. Culling Ritual is an insane card, and especially in a turbo deck, especially in an unknown meta when you could be playing against a couple stacks pieces and shit. It's like you're only out to the late game if you're still trying to win with Adnaz and Necro and Underworld Breach and shit like that. So I've been liking it quite a lot.
Yeah, I think we've just gotten like so many options this year for commanders that people are just like trying out a bunch of other different things instead. I think right now, for some reason, Synergy feels really popular in cEDH, and I think that there's just a lot more people going for Synergy than going for good stuff. But I'm still on the good stuff train hype, even though my next deck is not a good stuff deck.
Really, the only reason I'm continuing to play Terra is because I win with it a lot. Like that, I'm not even like I don't love the deck because it's fun. I love the deck because I win a lot with it.
That's what makes me like want to give it a 4. Is because like you're doing really well with it.
I just like I win my most games with Terra's games that I feel like, oh, I shouldn't have won that game at all, but I got lucky off of a flip from Terra or something like that. It does the same thing that Timna Malcolm does, that like it's blue farm. It's the best deck in the format, but it's with a shitty commander, so you're not going to pay attention to it. So I can get away with a little bit more than blue farm can.
Well, you did top 16 with it this month, which means that if not a lot of other people brought Terra to events, its conversion rates at like either 50 or 100%. So that's pretty insane.
I have to give this one, I'm going to give it my own personal rating. I think this deck is a 4. I think it is a true tier 2 deck that just hasn't shown up yet. I think it's got the power to be that. So I'm going to give it a 4. I know that's not accurate based on what everyone else is saying. I'm aware of that, but it's a deck that I'm playing right now, so I'm allowed to be biased, and I think it's a 4.
We're going to stick with the 4. You're right. It probably should be a 2 or something. But
you give it a 2, and then it'll balance out to be a 3.
Okay, well then I'll give it the community rating of 2.
Right, yeah.
And then now it's a 3. Okay.
Realistically, I should also give it a 2 because it is a terrible deck, and I would like you to not look at me. So I don't want anyone to think that this deck is good because it sucks and it's bad. So it's a 2, actually.
so
I
funny.
changed my whole opinion.
All right, my last deck to talk about is Etali Primal
Yeah.
Conqueror.
I feel like this year you've like fully fallen back in love with the dinosaur.
We're back. Yeah, I thought that the bans, like coming into this year, I was on Thrasios Timna more because I thought that the bans were really going to hurt Etali, and they really just helped.
Yeah.
They really helped. Like the fact that it slowed down the rest of the format, all those bans, kind of made it so that Etali could take advantage of that. And it really just became the meta buster.
And I remember we kind of talked about this as like a possible option of something that could happen. The turbo decks still stay powerful because they lose a smaller percentage of what allowed them to keep up, whereas the mid-range decks lost like 3 out of 12 cards, whereas the turbo decks lost 3 out of 25 cards. So like they lost a smaller percentage out of what the deck does, the mana port of it. And I feel like Roxai and Etali have kind of proven that to be true because the decks are still good. They're still turbo decks.
Yeah, and like Dockside isn't always good on turn 2.
Right.
So like if you keep a hand with Dockside trying to get Etali out, that might be turn 3 or turn 4 that you're waiting until your Etali comes out. It stopped you from keeping bad hands, and now like it's made mulliganing, at least for me, like a little bit easier.
More
I think,
consistent,
weirdly.
right?
Yeah, just more consistent in general. I think that we got a lot more minds coming together on Etali this year too, and it's just really made this deck just absolutely pop off in the meta.
Yeah, I completely agree. The deck is terrifying. I think it's like definitely the fastest deck in the format. We talk about it compared to Roxai a lot because those are, in my opinion, the 2 turbo decks of the format. Maybe you could consider Ral among those as well as like a turbo deck of the format that's like really trying to win on turn 2 often. They both do it really well, but Atali's thing is like all you have to do is count to 7. Like with Roxai, I need to count to 3 or 5 and then also have one of the other things. I have to have the Necro and the Ad Nauseam and the mana. I have to have both, whereas you just need mana. You can get rid of everything else, just mana, just mana.
Ral needs to like count to 6, like, but I also need mana in order to be able to start my count to 6 and stuff like that too. So like there's just more pieces that you need for both those, and Etali can just be like, boom, I only need mana and I can still mold to 3 to find that mana and still be in insane shape.
And that's the important part about turbo decks is like Roxai does have the option to go Command Tower, Dark Ritual, Necropotence. You do have the option to go Ancient Tomb, Grim Tutor, Lines of Diamond.
City of Traders, Grim Monolith, and LED was a hand that I kept on a Scrybabies game recently. And I'm like, that's turn 2 Etali.
Yeah, you have way more of those turn 2 Etalis off of 3 cards options than Roxai does. I have like, there's a range, not just what I said. There's a couple different ways to do it.
Land, Dark Ritual, Necropotence is a great thing to do.
You know what I mean? But like that's a specific one, whereas you have like kind of 10 different ways to make that same thing happen.
Yeah,
right?
you can like Mana Vault. Like there's so many things that make 2 to 3 mana that just like help you absolutely power that to happen.
Yeah. And Etali is weird because if you decide to not lose to Etali, you can. You will not lose to Etali. You'll lose to the person afterwards. Like it is feasible. You can mulligan until you find 2 pieces of interaction and stop Etali, and that'll be enough, and that'll be good. But
you still lose that game depending on your seed order. You're still
probably going to lose that game. That's why it's so fucked to deal with it, because like number one, you have to do things like fuck yourself up by doing that. And then if all you do is spend interaction to deal with one player, you have not progressed yourself ahead in any way. So the other 2 players who have, instead of doing that, progressed themselves ahead, they're going to win. So it feels very counterintuitive because we've talked about this a whole bunch, but like the best thing to do against Etali is realistically ignore it. Hope that somebody else deals with it, go faster. Ideally, 1 piece of interaction and draw engine. That's, you know what I mean? That's really helpful, but that's harder to accomplish. That's difficult to have the mana up and the draw engine in play in time because they go so fast.
And like you want to be the one with the draw engine. Like you don't want to root for someone else to have the draw engine to stop them at that point. Then
the draw engine is the important part. The removal is like the gravy on top. The draw engine is really what you want because eventually, hopefully, you'll find something.
Mulligan for Mystic Remora. That's a way better way to go about it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Then like looking for specific pieces of interaction because you want the Mystic Remora to find you the Mindbreak Trap and then just like hope that it does. But it puts the whole game on odds. It puts the whole game on like kind of like coin flipping, like what Kark does. And I feel like that's tough for a lot of players to like figure out what to do against.
And like how do you play around this?
Right.
Yeah. It feels like Calyrex Shadow Rider.
Yeah, what
honestly,
are you gonna do?
Back into VGC and playing Calyrex Shadow Rider, it feels like Etali. You just fuck their shit up.
Yeah, what are you
right
going to spend all of your resources to like stop the one horse from going off, and then like they have 3 more Pokemon after that. So like even if you do get to stop their horse from going off, they have other shit going on in the back.
And then I spin into Twin Flame. I get a special attack boost.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Etali's great. I think this this one, given more time, will be a tier 1 deck, full stop. I think it's almost there now.
See, I'm worried that the increasing speed of the format will make Etali worse.
It'll make it better. That everyone else is playing more fast, good stuff for Etali.
Or they're playing worse cards in order to help speed their deck up too. Like, I don't always want to spin into mana. I need a little bit of mana, which is like what my deck has, but like I need tutors. I need to find people's tutors, which I know like a lot of turbo decks will mean more tutors, but like what I'm relying on now is that other decks are slow and can't go faster than me, and they're gonna tap out all of the time. But like what could happen now is like, you know, there's another deck that could be a little bit quicker than me. Maybe I am quicker, but my Etali flips still aren't great. I can be set up for a turn 3 win, which can overwhelm the mid-range deck still, but another turbo deck can clean up from there if they go after me. So I'm a little bit nervous that like if there's a better turbo deck that comes up, maybe that's something that like Etali will be harmed by. But Rogsai is one of my best matchups. So like I know that like if one of the other better fastest decks in the format is going to see more play and more prevalence, then maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Etali is just still going to be insanely strong.
Yeah, that makes sense. Rogsai's got so many tutors, so there's so many good live hits for you to have.
That's the thing. Yeah, they play interaction, but like Ristic Study's still a great hit if I flip into that too. But
I'm gonna give Etali, for me, I think it's a 4.5.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah, I think it's a 4.5, and it seems like we're gonna get more tools for Etali. We don't really get a lot that are like specific to Etali. It's been since like Electro Duplicate and Foundations, I feel like.
Yeah, but like Molten Duplication also, like we've gotten a couple like cards that like this is like we've talked about this a little, like this is what red does now. It makes hasty token copies of stuff, and that's so good in Etali.
We did get the one that was red XX that we ended up not playing because it's bad to spin into. So like we will certainly get more things that are going to be like this. It's only on the up for Etali.
Yeah,
I think you're right. 4.5 for Etali, and then our last deck of the day is, can you guess it?
Sisei.
It's Sisei. Hell yeah.
I still love Sisei. I backed off it a little bit throughout the year. I'm kind of hard back on it right now. I think it's great. I'm off the Planeswalkers. I have a couple, but I'm off Animatu and Nicol Bolas and that shit.
What are your lines now? Because I feel like you were on Thoracle. You're off Thoracle.
Off Thoracle right now.
You were on War and Soul Trader. You're off of the Soul Trader
yeah.
lines with Chatterfan.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing
So for
now?
this week, today, right now, it'll probably change because that's kind of the beauty, I think, of Sisei is that I can swap in and out. But for right now, my winning lines all revolve around either Bloomtender, Fabor Elder, Gaia's Cradle, or Savala. Those are I have to have one of those.
Right,
on tapper.
yeah.
And then through a chain of either Derevi into Deadpool into Emil and flickering with the Derevi, or with a line with like Tyvar into Sakashima and the little toy.
Marvin.
Marvin has like the Savala's abilities, and then Iorith is a part of that line as well, where Iorith can untap shit. I wish I could give you like a straight answer, like this is how I win, but it's loose and it depends on what else is here and around. But the idea,
so you didn't replace, because those were all already like infinite mana lines that you already had in there, but like you didn't replace Fastest Oracle or the War and Soul Trader with like another win condition, another backup.
I put in Wan Shi Tong and Cabbage Merchant and Badgermole right now.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I have 3 flex slots, and they're either like Fastest Oracle and the Mana Consultations, or it's like War and Soul Trader and the Zombie and like an extra tutor, or it's, you know, right now it's these like extra value engines that I'm trying out, and I'm not sure about them. So far, Wan Shi Tong has looked very hard to cast in Sisei in particular. It's difficult to have 2 blue sources out. Badgermole Cub, I haven't really seen it a ton, but it has felt reasonable in the times that I have seen it. It just makes more mana, and that feels really good.
You reminded me that turning your Gaia's Cradle into a legendary creature makes your Beseiju cost less. Your Otawara costs less too. Yeah.
So if you have like a gemstone after the pregame or whatever, and you still want to play it, and you put the Badgermole cover on it, now it makes a green, which is good because your gemstone was going to tap for colorless. And then also it's a legendary permanent. It's a legendary creature specifically that makes your Otawaras cost less. So that's interesting. We're going to keep
Otawara in particular makes it very relevant. Because that one is annoying when it's still 3 mana to do.
But now it's like pretty easy to make it just cost 1 mana. I feel like specifically in Sisei with all the legends and shit. Badgermole is one that we talked about before that like we're going to keep on finding little things that it does. It's just going to keep on popping up and it does that too. Oh, that's helpful here too. Like there's going to be more shit. And this hasn't come up yet, but like if I turn my Gaia's Cradle into a creature, that means now that my Tyvar can untap it.
That's pretty gnarly.
So it's just like an extra direction that I can go into.
Does it give Marvin the ability to tap for Gaia's Cradle?
Yes, I think that it would. I think that it would do that. Yeah. That's just going to be so fun to keep on finding shit like that.
Yeah. That would be a fun one to keep testing.
Right.
Yeah.
But the lines are either Bloomtender, Fabor Elder, Sovala that can eventually tap for 5. There's like math that you can do of like they can tap for 3, but you have 2 extra mana, and then you go assist activation for another half of it. So you find one of those pieces. Deadpool works really well with Derevi to untap something because it kind of instantly gets you 5 colors.
Yeah.
And then using your first find to go get Tyvar, untap your thing, go find Iorith, untap your thing, go find Toy, untap your thing, go find Sakashima. There's also a line with like Asika and Enduring Vitality and Sakashima and Iorith where you can make infinite mana a couple ways that way. If I don't have Bloomtender, Fabora Elder, Sovala, or Gaia's Cradle in play, I can't win the game. If I have a ton of mana and I can find one of those things and then find a way to untap it right away, I can win the game.
Considering that you have like 4 of those options in order to go off with this, I don't feel like you need another win condition then. Like you don't need another Planeswalker line. Like you can just go through this and then like Emil and Mount Doom.
Truly how I finish the game is by untapping Mount Doom over and over again, which Derevi or Iorith can do. So each of like the branches, there's like the Derevi branch and then there's the Tyvar branch is how I think of it. Either of those branches can win with Mount Doom or eventually flickering with Emil. You make infinite mana, find Kinnan. Kinnan activates over and over again to get Orcish Bowmaster in play.
There you go,
Orcish Bowmaster.
I think that's enough ways to win that like you don't necessarily need a whole other line that's only good at sorcery speed. And as things in it that you're unable to tutor with Sisay. I think this is just a way better way to go.
Specifically, the Planeswalker, the Amanatu, the Oath of Teferi line, I find that the Tyvar cards are just better because Sakashima is a clone and that's reasonable. Tyvar already is in your deck for 100% because it does a million things. The toy, I don't know why I can't remember the name of the fucking
Marvin.
toy. Marvin the toy. The toy is extremely helpful and relevant. Like all the Tyvar cards, Iorith is like an extra way to untap Mount Doom. They work a lot better than I think the Planeswalkers do. They don't really do anything on their own. There is still a chance that I should be playing Thassa's Oracle. I'm just testing other shit right now. Sisay is a 5.
If you're having trouble with blue with Wan Shi Tong,
same idea.
Why would you want to play Thassa's Oracle though?
Yeah, same idea. And there's like not enough ways to like tutor for it and shit.
At least
like
you can tutor Wan Shi Tong with Sisay.
Exactly. There's no synergies with the deck whatsoever. Tainted Pact, you can't just use Tainted Pact as a tutor because too many pieces are important a lot of the time. Yeah. So they're not good 1-card tutors and wins and whatever. But yeah, I think Sisay's a 5. It's a little bit slow. There can be some draws that are awkward and they don't match up against certain things. But if you build it for the right meta, I think it can take down any tournament. So I think it's a 5.
It's doing better than Etali in this past month. It's had a couple of top 4s and not just top 16s.
Sisay is also interesting. Its results, they're all kind of like half invalid because there's 2 very distinct different versions of Sisay. The Clam Chowder version that is basically no Sisay cards and is like just a 5-color deck playing like you can maybe search for like Necro Dominance or something like that or like very, very few Sisay things. And then there's like the Sisay version that's like doing all Sisay shit and both of the decks do well. So Sisay's results are kind of skewed because I think there's like 2 fully different decks in there.
I think I'm going to give Sisay a 4.7.
Okay.
A 4.7.
That's fair.
It's normally not one of the top 4 or 5 decks in the format. It's either the 5th or it like kind of hovers around there, I think.
Yeah.
Blue Farm, Kinnan, Rog Thras, and Rog Sai are all better than Sisay, I think. They all see way more tournament play than Sisay does.
They see more tournament play. Kinnan's like conversion rate is worse than Sisay's. I do probably agree that it's probably the 4th or 5th best one. I think there's an argument that it might be better than Rog Thras.
Kinnan has, actually, this past month, Kinnan has been doing a little bit better than Sisay, But I mean, there's also like, I'm looking at 140 entries in the past month versus 55. There's a way bigger disparaging difference.
You're probably, it's probably the 5th best, I would say.
Yeah, I would say it's probably there. And then Etali is the 6th best, is what I would say.
Yeah, sure.
Because I said it. I said it.
Are those all the decks that we played this year?
That is all the decks that we played this year. Nice. Yeah.
Do a final ranking?
Let's do all of your decks and all of my decks or something like that. Let's do it like that. All right. So Dylan, your worst deck, I think, is going to end up being Glarb. Unfortunately for Frogman.
Sorry, Frogman.
Yeah, because it's whatever this number was that we averaged it out to.
Yep.
And I think that ended up being lower than Terra. How is Terra got a 3?
Because you gave it a 2. Because
I had to give it a 2. I had to give it a 2. I had no choice.
No, it needs to remain being underrepresented.
Which I think is fair. Yeah. But now Green Goblin got a 3.25.
Which makes no sense.
Which now makes no sense. Yeah. I'm wondering about the legitimacy of our ranking system. Yeah. And then Yoshimaru Thrasios got a 3.35. So just barely edged out Green Goblin. Then Sisay came in with a 4.85.
Yep.
Rogsai got the only perfect 5 out of 5.
Yep, that makes sense.
That's your ranking, your top 6 decks
of the year
you played this year. Yeah. And as for me, Vivi got a 2.9, which is one of the lowest scores of the day, followed by, oh, no way, Malcolm Timna, which got a 3.6, followed by Etali, which got a 4.5, followed by Thrasios Timna, which got a 4.51.
Oh, why did Thrasios?
I hate this list.
Because I said 4.52.
A 4.5 as well, or a 4.52?
Now that you said that, a 4.52. Yeah, this list sucks because Etali is way better, and I don't even play Roxai right now. This might be the first one I disagree with.
Yeah, this might be the worst.
That I already disagree with our takes.
Normally we have to wait a couple weeks before we're like, oh, this didn't age
wrong,
well.
yeah.
And now it's like, wow. Well,
We talked about him.
I think everything that we said in this episode is accurate.
Yeah.
But if you take any stock into these ratings at all, please don't. Please don't.
Realistically, you should give Etali a 5.
Because for me, Etali has outperformed everything else.
It's the deck that you have the most fun playing and win the most with out of any cEDH deck that you've ever played.
Exactly.
With, right?
I've done the best in a cEDH tournament with it this year. The other day, I had a game where I thought I was completely out. I had Lion's Eye Diamond in my hand, and I drew Molten Duplication. And I went, oh, okay, LED, Molten Duplication, the LED. I have Delighted Halfling in play. Here's an uncounterable Etali. Oh, okay. Like, there's so many times, like, you just draw a card and go, oh, okay.
Oh, that's 7, yeah.
Yeah, like someone flips into food chain. You just go, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's easy.
Go.
Yeah, I mean, Etali's great. I think you should change your thing to give it a 5.
I'm gonna change. Yeah, Cubby, fix this.
Yeah,
fix it. Yeah.
We'll fix it in post. That's it?
That's it.
Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to support us directly, you can do so on Patreon, like our $100 patrons.
Thanks MTG, Wandering Around, Mike H, Tom Bieber, Cumulative Upkeep MTG, Nathan Cohen, Mr. Jerby, Okie Toad, Penguin Man 0089, Eli the Magic Guy, David Newman, Johnny Denver Omelet, Rocky Hall, Pat Fires, Frogman, Spangler, Demetrius Clark, Larceny Roar, Zorbe Blue, Sparky B, Insomnia, SC Phillip, Olin Groupie, Zach Hartley, Big Legs Banjo Reactive, Sean in the Ice, Gare Bear Garrett, Mace the Ace, Luke Cook, Connor Sipon, Joshua Day, Demon of Rosgrease, Peter Stewart, Corner Wild, Uncle Butts, Doot Loot, Quadja A. Hamid, Scott Hawk, and Baby G-Bus.
If you want to pick up any of our merch, you can do that at playtowinmtg.com.
Thanks, Dragon Shield, for supporting the show. Use code PLAYTOWIN5 at our affiliate link down below for 5% off.
Follow us on the internet for more content.
Thank you for watching.
See you next time. And the $50 patrons.
Shardicus, McSaucy, Max McComber, Meta, Ben Finelli, Jason Brooks, Safarius, Ash Wayne, Sarcastic, Mystic Muffin Man, Zachary Coulson, Dalton Poteet, Jan Wildfang, Thomas Bueno, and David Nelson.